Buongiorno! Hello and welcome to this video from the third race of this month's Swift racing series called Cobble Crusher. It's called COBBLED CLIMBS, this stage, and as you can see we are in Richmond and the route is COBBLED CLIMBS. So the hilly lap from Richmond, you know, there's the UCI lap, which is divided in two halves, the flat half and the hilly half, and this route covers only the hilly part. When you look on the mini-map, the left side from the profile with the two green sprints is the flat part, and the right half is the hilly one. And now you could saw on my face, or you can still see it, that I'm quite annoyed about my power-up, because there are two power-ups available on this stage 3. The feather and the anvil. For those who are not racing that often and maybe don't know the effect of the anvil, it makes you, I don't know exactly how much, but it makes you a lot heavier for 30 seconds. And I think this is the most powerful power-up in the game, or in the e-cyclings on Swift. And you will see in a few moments why. So the chances were 50-50, so I knew about half of the peloton will have the anvil. You see the first guy is activating it. It's a little bit early because it's flat, so you don't have an advantage. And yes, so I'm here with my team. You see a lot of white and black jerseys from the Dragons racing team powered by Sunweb. And now you see how easily the riders with the anvil are coming away without pushing that much watts. And now look at my watts per kilogram or absolute watts, whatever. I have to push 5, 6, 7 watts per kilogram, go in the very, very red zone to stay somehow in the draft of this anvil group. Still over 500 watts. And yeah, normally, you know, on this route you would use the downhills to recover, because there are 3 punchy climbs where you go all out normally, or also in the very deep red zone, and then you're very happy and looking forward for those downhills, because normally you can recover in the draft from the group. But yes, today if you don't have the anvil, it is not recovering, and it's also not normal riding. It's very hard pushing, like you're riding uphill. And yeah, I knew if I would get another feather at the Libby Hill, then it will be very hard for me to stay in the group when I have to push once again very, very high numbers in the downhill just to stay in the group, and then the 23rd Street climb starts. But yeah, that's sometimes you need the luck in your race, so we will see. Now I try to stay in the draft, don't hit the wind, and to recover as good as possible. And yes, if you haven't seen it, it's A category race, so not in B. In the past I was racing in the last year a lot in the B category, in the high end of the B category. And I always mentioned that I'm on the jump to the next level. And yeah, so I'm racing now way more races in the A category, even though Swift category enforcement says still I'm a B rider. my ZFTP is 280 watts in Swift power, so not even close to A category, I think. Yeah, but anyway, I think it's way better to race in the A group if you want to improve, because now you can see it. If this would be a B race, the colors on the bottom would be way more blue and gray and maybe a little bit green. And now it's way more green and yellow, so the base pace, I would say, in the flat is much higher than in the B category, so it's also not that easy to recover because you're riding a way higher pace in the flats in the group. Still around 4 watts per kilogram, I think. I'm not sure where which zone starts exactly. Anyway, so we are going to hit Libby Hill for the first time. So 2 laps of the COBBLED CLIMBS route. About 19 kilometers, I think. And yeah, this is Libby Hill. So the beginning is quite flat, so I try to stay more behind or at the end of the group. So I have more advantage from the draft. And then my plan was to use the power up when the corners start, because this is the steepest part. You see some riders already activated their power ups. I think this is too early. Yes, of course, here it's also a little bit steeper, 8%, but now it will become more flat in a few seconds. And normally you become much faster, so drafting is also important. Look at the speed, 28, 29, 30, 31, 34, 35. So there's still so much draft effect, and now you see deep red numbers in the gradient, 10%, 15%, in the corners about 20%. So this is the best moment to use the feather. Maybe also a little bit later. Now, for example, it's once again very steep, and I'm suffering a lot. You can see it in the movement of my upper body, waving a lot from the left to the right. That's always a sign in my race that I'm near my limits. And now I stay at the front. I motivate myself to keep pushing. I see still over 300 watts. That's over 4.3, 4.4 watts per kilogram. And then, you see it's the next feather. And so I had to make a decision real quick. You see all the anvils. And I'm now at my limit. And if I would try to hold the wheels from these anvils, I would have to sprint once again, and then I would have no energy for the climb, which starts in a few seconds. So I decided not to follow the anvils and just continue to push still over 4 watts per kilogram to stay in the draft. And I forgot to use my companion app, so I had to activate the power-ups also with my with a mouse and not with my smartphone. Also not perfect. And then you see the other riders are in the orange numbers in watt per kilograms on the right side. I tried to ride steady with also over 7 watts per kilogram. Once again, a lot of movement in my upper body. And then my hope was to get these anvil, and you see no chance. And now the riders in front of me activate their anvils, and look, for example, here at my teammate. He's not pushing much more watts per kilogram than me. He's even just rolling, or this guy. They are just flying by. No chance to follow. So I don't waste the energy, because there are still four climbs to go. So I continue to pedal quite easy. Now I think for a moment, okay, maybe I can get in the draft of the guy in front of me, so I increase my pace for some seconds. But I'm not the heaviest rider, so I realize quite quick that I don't get in his draft. You can see it on the upper left corner, the draft measurement, all the time at 0%. So yeah, that's why I stopped riding at 4 watts per kilogram and settled down a little bit. Now my plan was to don't overpace on this last climb of the first round. It's the longest one, but it's the flattest one also. And then I wanted to wait for a group to join. And yeah, that's what's happening now. But I'm still in the good midfield, position 28 from 52. And yes, that's it so far. Okay, let's change to triple speed because there isn't happening that much. We will go to the normal speed when we are back at Libby Hill. In a few seconds you will see flying by a rider from Spain, A.MM. I'm not sure if he's riding on a smart trainer. I don't think so. When you look on the Swift Power profile, there were races where he was disqualified for using Z power as power source. He has a 20 minutes power from 5.3 watts per kilogram on 20 minutes and is aged 60 plus. And in most of his races he has 50 seconds sprint way below 10 watts per kilogram. So yeah, I think his numbers are not 100% correct. But anyway, it's just what I also thought in the race. That's why I didn't even try to follow him when he passed me with about 7 watts per kilogram. But as you can see, I found a nice group. I got another feather. And yeah, now I was talking with my girlfriend because my towel was falling on the ground during the third climb, and thankfully she just came in the room, and then she could help me. At least a little bit luck in this race for me. And yes, so you see we're in a nice group of 5 riders. In front of us are some riders too, if you see them in the mini map. So try to chase them down. I also go to the front a little bit because the other riders weren't, or our group in general wasn't working 100% perfect in pacing. Yeah. For example, I when I checked the distances in seconds, when I came to the front for this some seconds, you see the red colors on the bottom. With this work at the front, we closed the gap by 3 or 4 seconds. Yeah, so if everybody would work like this, or then we would be even faster. But of course, we had to look on our energy reserves because now there are coming 3 more climbs. First one, Libby Hill once again. And at this moment I didn't felt very good, but also not very bad. I hope that nobody was attacking here on this climb. And this wasn't the case, so yeah, I stay quite near the front. You see 2 other teammates. I think it's just one teammate. One teammate, Lennart Vierenkamp. And yes, so because now there's this little flatter section, that's why I still stay behind. in the draft, you see 40-50% draft effect, and now in the corner I go to the front, activate the power up, and then my plan was to ride this climb from the front in a high pace, but not too high. So I hope that I could ride with my pace, because it's always easier to ride your pace, and you don't have to follow the pace from other riders, which are maybe not that constant, or I don't know. That's why I tried to ride from the front with a high but steady pace, and this worked very well. Now here at the top I let the other guy pass me, so I am in the draft, and of course I got another feather, waving my head, but not much energy left for more complaining. And yes, I don't know how many riders will use their anvils now. This one, my teammate also uses it. And now I know I have to follow them, because behind me there's a big gap. So yeah, I was willed to give everything to hold the wheels from the anvil guys. You see over 300 watts in the downhill. Okay, then didn't manage to stay there. You see how fast the gap is opening. But as I mentioned, I've managed quite well I managed my energy reserves, and now I'm riding once again very steady from the beginning to the end of the climb. You see a lot of riders are hitting the climb with very, very high numbers, and then became much slower. And once again, my plan worked quite well. Yes, you see once again a lot of movement, and my face makes some funny mimics. And now I got the anvil, and now I didn't want it because you will see what happens now. I'm doing almost nothing, and I'm just flying through the group. It's unbelievable. But I didn't want to open a gap, because there are still 2 kilometers to go, and I would have preferred to be in the group, in the draft, to hit the climb together, and then I have a feather for the final meters. But yeah, today was definitely not my luckiest day. And I know the gap is not that big, or it's not big enough to keep the seconds to the finish line, 1.4 kilometers. That's why I'm riding now. And I'm quite finished with my energy. That's why I'm riding now in endurance pace until the group is there. And then I wanted to grab the wheel and try to hold it as long as possible. A lot of strong riders there. But I knew anyway, even if I would finish at the last one of this group, I would still be very happy, because it would be still a very solid position in the midfield in a very well A category race with very, very strong riders. For example, also the winner, Joachim Leeson from Denmark, number 2 Swifter worldwide in general, race ranking from 38. Or Le Capitaine from our Dragons team, or Julian Hertz, and so many A+ riders and so on. So yeah. And anyway, I would also be very happy with my race, because I was fighting from the first to the last second for every position, and think this is very important in your mind or in your mindset, that you have this motivation to fight for every position, even somewhere in the midfield. And yeah, that's also what I'm trying to do now. I don't want to let the gap open. I want to have this place 23 if it's possible. Yeah, so now I'm in the draft. And from behind there's coming a Canadian rider. I think these are two brothers, David and Eric Kalviainen from Ziesel Racing Team. And now I try to get in his draft, even if my pulse is already at about 210. And now final 200 meters and 10, 11 watts per kilogram, passing him. And then I'm lucky that nobody is overtaking me, because I stopped pedaling 2-3 seconds before the finish line. But that was enough. 4.0 watts per kilogram in average. And like I said, the win to Joachim Nissan, but then two riders from our team, Dragons Racing Team powered by Sunweb, Dennis Breyer on second place and Jan Le Capitaine Iffert on third place. And in general, a very, very strong result from our team. Julian on 5th position, Alex 9, Niels 11, Flan 14. Then on 20, 21, 22, it's Benny, Leonard and me. And also Volker Voigt on P33. Yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If that's the case, then leave a like or a comment, or if you want to give some feedback, then also leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. And I will also link our new main YouTube channel from the Dragons Racing Team in the description. And I wish you a wonderful week, stay healthy and ride on!